I want to take a moment to talk about my dissertation defense from the University of the Cumberlands towards my Doctor of Education, or EDD, degree. My defense took place Thursday, December 5th, 2024 at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. During this time, I talked about my dissertations, the perceptions of educators on integrations of educational technology post-COVID-19. As the title indicates, the study explored how teachers viewed educational technology as high schools transitioned from remote learning to more traditional settings. This study was a replication of an EDD dissertation conducted by Dr. Caitlin Kempton, and she defended that in April of 2023. She studied the exact same topic, except it focused on elementary school teachers and their perceptions. Dr. Kempton's research suggested that pre-K, middle, high, and possibly college level teachers' perceptions need to be studied on educational technology integration post-pandemic. This gap in the literature paved the way for my study. Additionally, a literature gap existed for pandemic and post-pandemic exploration of educator perceptions on educational technology. My study in particular wanted to look at how educators selected technology to integrate, what skills were needed during the transition period from traditional to remote back to a traditional/hybrid setting. Additionally, I wanted to look at how school leaders supported their educators with educational technology integration. For the methodology, I used a qualitative research approach to seek the participants' experiences and aim to find the answer to the question of how and why, instead of looking for a numerical amount that you might see in a quantitative approach. This was a descriptive phenomenological approach that explored the human attributes of a social problem. The study sought the perceptions of the participants. The aim was to collect each participant's lived experiences as they pertained to technology selection and integration post-COVID-19. I sought this research approach as a math teacher, as I wanted to explore a new way of thinking and solving problems that I was not used to doing. The TPACK framework laid the foundation for the study, as it explores how technology, pedagogy, and content skills aim for optimal instruction. For the participants in the study, the participants had to work in the same high school before, during, and after the pandemic to correctly see how the transition from traditional learning to remote, to hybrid, to more traditional learning occurred. There were 13 total participants. 11 of them were female and 2 were male. They were all Kentucky educators. 8 had a rank 1, 3 had a rank 2, and 2 had a rank 3. 2 were English teachers, 2 were social studies teachers, 2 were science teachers, and 7 were elective teachers, such as business, technology, library, media, and so on. Data saturation occurred around participant 12, but I had one more participant scheduled for an interview, so I went ahead and conducted interview 13. Data saturation occurred when no new data or points of interest were collected from the participants during the interview. I was beginning to hear the same or similar information from later participants that I had heard from previous participants. For my research questions in the study, I had 3. Number 1 was, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, what transformations and skills have secondary level educators experienced to implement technology and instruction effectively? Number 2, how did the transition from remote to in-person learning impact the support that school leaders provided secondary level educators for technology integration into school and classroom practices? And finally, number 3 for the research questions. As schools transition from remote learning to traditional in-person learning modality, how did the availability and selection of educational technology impact the way secondary level educators plan and instruct classroom activities? As you can tell from these research questions, I was trying to collect that lived experience I had referenced with my methodology. There are 5 overall themes that emerged for the 3 research questions, and there were 3 related supplemental findings that did not directly tie in to those 5 findings or the research questions. For research question 1, I found the overall theme that educational technology selection requires intentionality. Teachers want to find technology applications that promote organization, that include real-life events, and they want to use technology that they feel they have a technical skill or ability to use. For research question 2, 2 themes emerged. One of them is that teacher leadership was the foundation for technology integration support during the transition from remote to hybrid to traditional learning. Those settings for teacher leadership took place in formal and informal settings. Also, we found a theme that pandemic settings challenged effectiveness of professional development. It was uneven amongst the different schools that my participants come from, and how the professional development was selected and implemented. For research question 3, 2 themes emerged, and that's that technology provided accommodations for students, particularly with zooming in features and screen readers. Theme 5 is that monitoring student usage is very important for school settings today. Many educators mention cell phone policies or using a monitoring platform or software on district-provided technology. There were concerns that due dates have not been strictly adhered to, as perhaps educators do not properly know how to set due dates on learning management systems. The supplemental findings were that teachers were struggling to find a balance of their traditional teaching methods and highly technology integrated methods, and educators are wanting to have that conversation with their administrators. Additionally, educators seemed pretty happy with the technology that was provided by their district, and they felt comfortable that if they had asked for a new piece of technology, that the district would happily provide that technology to them. Lastly is that technology and its integration in schools has created perhaps a barrier to building relationships between students and teachers. The implications from this study are that school leaders can better support their educators with technology usage and integration. That goes back to providing proper professional development that's differentiated based on the educator's ability and preference with technology. We look for school leaders to start establishing norms and expectations for technology integration in lessons and for monitoring student technology usage. I want to thank you all for taking a moment to listen about my dissertation defense. It was a lot of fun. The process for getting an EDD through the University of Cumberland is not as painful as the experience as some people might think, so I highly encourage it. If you have any questions about the process, please reach out. I'm always happy to answer questions, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast.